Hello, BookTube. Well, the good news is that the morning's mail haul was twice the size of yesterday's. And the bad news was yesterday's was only one book. Today's is only two. So it'll make for a relatively short video. It'll be a relief for some of you. And I thought we'd just go through them. I'm so accustomed now to opening all of my books with you that I wouldn't want to not do it, except for the times when I forget and do. But we won't mention those to the gens. So let's see what this first one is here. Oh, okay. This is a paperback, the paperback reprint of a book that I never actually reviewed in hardcover. So there's no point in looking at the pages of blurbs, because none of them will be by me. There is a point, because some of them will be my friends of mine. But still, this is Operation Thunderbolt, about the raid on Entebbe to save an airplane full of hostages. And it's an absolutely fascinating subject, and I never actually read the book when it came out. I got the advanced copy, I got the finished copy, and I never read it. Now that I have the paperback, this is sort of the the last gap. So if you're not going to read it now, you are officially ignoring a book, and I don't want to do that. This is by Saul David, who is a military historian and broadcaster. And I thought I'd just read you a little bit since we have the time, we only have the two books. I thought I'd read you just a little bit of the cover copy. On June 27, 1976, a group of Arab and German terrorists hijacked Air France Flight 139 en route to from Tel Aviv to Paris. The plane was diverted to Entebbe Airport in Uganda, where the terrorists demanded the release of 53 freedom fighters from Israel, Kenya, and European jails, in return for the safe release of 253 passengers and crew. Idi Amin, whose murderous rule of Uganda was then in its fifth year, made no attempt to intervene because he was colluding with the terrorists. After most of the non-Israeli hostages had been released, Israel faced an impossible choice: give in to terrorism or risk a rescue that had a high chance of failure. In the wake of the massacre of 11 Israeli Olympic team members at the Munich Olympic, this decision was almost incalculably difficult. In a mere 2 days, three of the most important men in Israel history, Ehud Barak, Shimon Peres, and Yitzhak Rabin, marshaled resources, secured necessary international partners, and masterminded the raid that would astonish the world. Operation Thunderbolt offers the first comprehensive account drawing on classified documents from archives in 4 countries and interviews with key participants, including Israeli soldiers and politicians, hostages, and a former terrorist. The result is an engrossing and thrilling book that brings to life the role that ingenuity and bravery can play against even the most impossible odds and the most committed opponents. And I honestly, reading that and remembering, I lived through this. I watched it and read about it in the newspaper. And I honestly don't know, reading that, why I didn't get to this when I first got it. And that's one of the things, when you're a book reviewer, that's one of the things that even a prolific book reviewer like me, one of the things that paperback reprints always do for you. They not only give you a second chance at a book, which I often take them up on even when I did review and read the book originally. I often view the appearance of a paperback as a chance to, okay, take a deep mental breath and just read it again and see how different the experience is. I like that. I like doing that very much. I have pretty much transferred, mutatis mutandis, my love of rereading from the older books, the out-of-print stuff that I used to lavish it on, to new books. So I still have... I've pretty much transferred all the elements of my book love that used to exist mostly in used bookstores. I've pretty much transferred almost all of it to my current reality. So the thrill of the hunt becomes the thrill of what advanced copies I can actually get that I want. The constant influx of new stuff to read is no longer a process of happenstance discovery of old stuff. Instead, I'm getting new stuff that's literally new, and I'm getting an unending tsunami of it. And also rereading. The joy that I used to get when I would, prowl through some used bookstore in, Madison, Wisconsin, or wherever, and come across a copy of an old John O'Hara collection of short stories that I hadn't read in forever. a copy that I'd never seen, I would use the fact that I'd never seen that copy as an excuse to reread the stories. And I still do that, of course, because the Brattle here in Boston is still a big part of my bookish experience. But I've noticed that a lot of that has transferred to this sort of thing, where I will get a new paperback reprint in the mail, and that will satisfy my rereading urge. I just got a Penguin paperback reprint of the new biography of Louisa Adams, the wife of John Quincy Adams, and I have Open Letters has a blurb on that paperback, and yet I am going to reread it with a wide open mind and a hungry attention, because I've grown accustomed to doing that. This isn't one of those. This is a case of something different, where the paperback reprint acts as a pointed little reminder: you didn't pay attention to this the first time. And I appreciate those reminders, especially when it's something that interests me anyway. I don't understand why I ignored it. I'm sure it won't be the last such paperback reprint that brings to mind questions like that. But then we have the second book, and it's the last one, so let's hope it's a good one. It's the last one for now. I'm sure there might be another delivery today, and I'm sure there'll be more. The UPS will recover. Let's see in the meantime what this is. Oh, it's a romance. oh my. Okay. It's due at the end of March, but I've actually already read and reviewed it. This is a double. It's Laura Lee Gerke, and it's The Truth About Love and Dukes. Look at those two going at it hot and heavy on the cover. I tell you. And I thought it was delightful. Absolutely delightful. Let me see here. Henry, Duke of Torquil, hasn't been caught wouldn't be caught reading the wildly popular Dear Lady Truelove column, but when its advice causes his mother to embark on a scandalous elopement, an outraged Henry decides the author of this tripe must be stopped before she can ruin any more lives. Though Lady Truelove's identity is a closely guarded secret, Henry has reason to suspect the publisher of the notorious column, the beautiful and provoking Irene Deverell, is also its author. For Irene, it's easy to advise others to surrender to passion, but when she meets the Duke of Torquil, she learns that passion comes at a price. When one impulsive, spur-of-the-moment kiss pulls her into a scorching affair with Henry, it could destroy her beloved newspaper, her career, and her independence. But in the Duke's arms, surrender is so, so sweet. And, in defense of Laura Lee Gerke, that cover copy sells short the complexity of the book that she wrote, because it isn't so sweet. Her Henry in this book is a right royal ass. He's not just, it's not the usual Georgette Heyer kind of very civilized sparring between two people who already know that they're going to end up together. He sets out to destroy our heroine. And he comes very close to doing it. He has the means at his disposal to destroy her life, her livelihood, her social existence, and he comes very close to doing it, to the point where he causes her actual despair, pain and despair. And to the author's credit, she doesn't discount any of that. And that makes the ending, oh my God. You know how I always complain on this channel? I have something specific in mind. Please don't answer yes right then. I don't always complain on this channel. I always complain on this channel about the fact that contemporary novelists never seem to know how to end their books. The books just sort of stop in mid-sentence or limp off into nowhere without, and you wonder why you stuck around. With contemporary novels, even the most celebrated of them, there's always this feeling in the last 20 pages that feeling you get when the party that you went to at somebody's apartment is obviously past its prime and in its 10th hour, and you suddenly look around and realize that all the people that you came with and all the people you cared about are all gone and have been gone for a while, and you wonder what you're doing there. That feeling of, oh, I wonder if I can still get a cab. That kind of feeling haunts the reading at the end of almost every contemporary novel that I've read in the last 5 years. It bugs the daylights out of me, especially since it proves once again that a lot of especially well-paid contemporary novelists have no beta readers. They have nobody in their lives who's willing to say, okay, this part stinks. They have eluded those people in favor of either people who don't care or people who are financially dependent on them, or both. And also, it points to the fact that publishing houses no longer have the kind of editorial infrastructure that they once did, which I knew, and which isn't exclusively their fault. I mean, that's expensive to maintain, and the industry isn't exactly thriving. But still, the fact that contemporary novels so often simply flub the ending, simply stop in their tracks, or say, "What am I doing here again? Why did I come into this room? Am I looking for my keys?" Really helps to highlight how good a job genre fiction often does on endings. Not always, but often. The weak spot here is mainstream murder mysteries, which in the last 10 years have grown a little weaker in that department. Even some very high-profile international successes just don't have endings. In there, it might be a little more permissible because the author is obviously thinking about series. Since The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, nobody writes a standalone book anymore in the murder, mystery, thriller genre. They're all thinking, well, if this somehow freakishly hits the bestseller list, I'm going to want 20 more versions of this character. I might kind of understand it under those circumstances for mystery and thriller. Science fiction, though, and especially romance, these authors are still remembering the tenets of the genre. They're still remembering the idea of storytelling, so they have an ending in mind when they start the book. Things build to a climax, and then there's an ending. And oh my God, the ending in this book. There's one scene in particular. I don't know that any of you will have read it yet. This is brand new. But there's one scene in particular between Henry and Irene at the end. There's one scene in particular in which he apologizes for everything that he's done. And the way he does it just could not be better done. Just could not be better done. I had a grin plastered on my face the whole time. The whole final 10 pages. And that's, as a send-off for a reader, that's no small thing. That's what you want if you're a novelist of fizz. If you're a novelist of suds, of fun stuff, then you want to end. You want either to frustrate your reader with your ending so that they can't wait for the next book, or if it's a standalone book, you want to please them. You want to send them away happy, and boy, does this book do that. Oh my. Yeah, the gut punch of the ending is worth the irritation with the characters throughout the course of the book. But anyway, that's it. Those are our two books, and this remains still the BookTube channel on which your host will enthuse in equal enthusiasm about the Raid on Entebbe and Regency romance novel. I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyway, those are our two books: Operation Thunderbolt and The Truth About Love and Dukes. And we'll just have to hope for a bigger haul next time. Thank you, BookTube.